Both sides had a new powerful class of battleships called dreadnoughts, but they were so expensive to build that neither side wanted to risk losing them in a battle.
I mean, I know it's understandable, but it's kind of sad that countries are like, oh, no, this ship is so good, it's so expensive. I mean, we cannot,
but on the other hand,
we cannot use that.
100,000 soldiers, that's completely fine.
Especially if you're Russia, then you are like, yeah, people, oh, no problem, people.
Hi everyone, this is Weronika
and this is Waldemar. Hello.
And today we are watching Oversimplified World War I, part 2. Yep.
And if you want to see the context of the video or what we said before, then you need to go to the first one, which we will put... Actually, I don't know how to put it here on the screen yet. I don't know if I can do that. But I will put it at the end of the video, that I can do.
I think you can choose the time for when the card appears. I will figure it out.
Alright, she will figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
So it will be here. Or it was before. No, never mind. But what we want to do in this video too is to thank you because, yeah, we just reached 100 subscribers. So,
yep.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much.
And, yeah, we watch Oversimplified part 2.
With both sides stuck in a hard stalemate, they knew this war wasn't going to be about taking territory, but about simply wearing each other down. The Allies had plenty of men to expend from its overseas dominions, and the British also started a naval blockade, so Germany couldn't import stuff, like food. Neither side really wanted a long grueling war though, so they both thought of ways to break the deadlock on the Western Front. Idea number 1, new frontiers. When the war first broke out, Australia was quick to take German New Guinea. The Allies also quickly jumped on Germany's colonies in Africa, and particularly in German East Africa, locals were enlisted as soldiers and carriers by both sides, leading to a tragic loss of life for the native Africans. Some new combatants entered the war as well. The Allies' new friends were Italy and Japan. Japan was busy building itself an empire, so it was more than happy to take away German islands and colonies in East Asia. Italy actually had an alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary before the war, but after some tense relations, and then the Allies promising to give them some of Austria-Hungary's stuff, they switched sides. Italy opened up a front in the mountains here, but like everyone else, they were stuck in stalemate for most of the war. The Central Powers' new friend was a struggling...
It's funny how the history repeats itself. They did that in the First World War, Italy. I mean,
yeah, switching sides.
Yeah, and in the Second World War they were like... I mean, I don't think they maybe... I'm not sure they switched sides necessarily in the World War II, because I'm not sure they were fighting against Germans.
Didn't they at the end?
I'm not sure, actually. They actually put an army to fight.
But I think they did change their mind for sure at the end.
Yeah. That's true. Italians killed Mussolini, his own people, but I'm not sure if the actual Italian army...
put out soldiers to go against Germany.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Empire in the Middle East. The Ottomans... The Ottoman were divided on whether to actually join the war or not, since they had been exhausted by the recent Balkan Wars. Some of the politicians who did want to join went off on their own and fired some shells at Russia, and then came back and said, whoops, looks like we're at war now. The Ottoman entry into the war was of particular concern to the British, since the Middle East was full of oil, and Britain wanted all of that oil. First, the Ottomans tried to attack Russia in the Caucasus Mountains, but they weren't prepared for the cold, and many of them froze to death. Then they crossed miles of desert to take the Suez Canal from the British, but that failed too. Then the Allies tried to take the Dardanelles at Gallipoli in a long and hard trench warfare campaign, but that also failed. The Ottomans blamed their initial losses on the ethnic Armenians living within Ottoman territory, and the resulting Armenian genocide led to the deaths of 1.5 million people. Then the Germans sent spies into Afghanistan to try to convince the Arab tribes there to rise up in jihad against the British and attack India. But that plan failed, partly because the spies got bored, brewed their own alcohol, and got drunk, which is a bad thing to do in Afghanistan. All these new frontiers hadn't done much to change the war. Aware that the Allies had more men and supplies than them, the Germans knew they had to do something to break the stalemate. Before the war, there was a big conference that set out the rules of modern warfare. No chemical weapons, no killing civilians. Basically, don't be jerks. The Germans held a meeting and decided to be jerks. Zeppelin air raids commenced over British cities. They also started attacking the Allied trenches with chlorine gas, and they used submarines to sink civilian ships. One such civilian ship was the Lusitania, which had 159 Americans on board when it was sunk. further swaying US opinion against the Germans.
Bad move.
Not to be completely unfair to the Germans, the Allies also engaged in chemical warfare soon after, and they had been hiding anti-submarine weapons on their civilian ships, which let the Germans justify their attacks. Meanwhile, Austria-Hungary still hadn't dealt with Serbia, so the Central Powers enlisted some help. Bulgaria wished it was bigger and was still bitter about losing the Second Balkan War. The Central Powers promised to make all of Bulgaria's wildest dreams come true if they helped.
We should watch about Balkan Wars at some point as well, because I don't really know much about it. Do you?
You mean the war in Yugoslavia in the 90s?
Yeah.
Oh, but I don't think any YouTube video can make justice to that subject, because as far as I know, the war in the Yugoslavia in the 90s was very complex, about the reasons, and if you ask that side or that side or that side...
You think there's not a video that shows you both outlooks?
I mean, maybe, but... I will,
maybe I'll just read about it.
If you know any videos about
you could
this
recommend
subject,
that.
you can recommend that, but...
Because I only know the basics about this and it would be good to know. Well, everything is good to know, but...
We will angry a lot of people with video like that.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do that, but I think if we have some viewers in the former Yugoslavia country, in the countries from previous... Former Yugoslavia, then they may get a little bit angry about it.
About what?
About this war, the history of this war.
Okay. That there's the wrong aspects are highlighted or the wrong reasons are given.
I don't know, but I'm not one of those citizens.
But you're not citizens of all the countries from World War I either.
Yeah, but it's this history is more
it's more internal. It's more internal.
It's not that recent.
I suppose. Yeah. Okay.
And people who remember that time they're not live anymore, so it's different, I think. Continue?
Yep.
So they signed on, and together they knocked out Serbia. The Serbian troops retreated through Albania, which was neutral but had some ties to Austria-Hungary. So Austria-Hungary entered Albania in a friendly invasion to chase down the Serbians, many of whom escaped by sea. It's 1916, and a lot is happening. As if they didn't have enough enemies already, Germany added one more to the list. Portugal had been getting a bit chummy with the Allies behind the scenes, and Germany didn't like that one bit. Around the same time, the only sea battle of the war happened. Both sides had a new powerful class of battleships called dreadnoughts, but they were so expensive to build that neither side wanted to risk losing them in a battle, so they kept them in port, except for one time when they had a big fight and a bunch of them got damaged. So,
I mean, this is kind of... I mean, I know it's understandable, but it's kind of sad that countries are like, oh, no, this ship is so good, it's so expensive, I mean, we cannot,
but on the other hand,
we cannot use that.
100,000 soldiers, that's completely fine.
Especially if you're Russia, then you are like, people, no problem, people.
How much is person worth?
How much people we want? I cannot do the Russian accent at all.
That was more Eastern Europe, but Eastern, not Europe, but further east, I think, what you did.
What, Asian accent? I don't think so.
I don't know. I can't do accents.
Maybe.
Maybe let's not anger even more people first.
Alright, let's go. Oh, maybe you should go back, like one person suggested.
Oh, someone said that, yeah.
In the comment that...
Did I go back?
No, just because now you are changing the volume.
Okay, do it. I don't know. I am technically challenged.
Try that again. In port, except but they were so expensive to build that neither side wanted to risk losing them in a battle. So they kept them in port, except for one time when they had a big fight and a bunch of them got damaged. So they didn't try that again. The UK started conscripting men to the army, so they had plenty of reserves, which is just as well because the Western Front was about to get brutal. The longest and one of the bloodiest battles of the war started when the Germans launched an attack around the French city of Verdun. The French defended it desperately, leading to hundreds of thousands of casualties. Under pressure, the French called on its allies to do something to draw the Germans' attention away, so the British started their own long and brutal fight, the Battle of the Somme, with 60,000 British casualties on just the first day. It was also here that the British first used one crazy brand new piece of sci-fi technology. The Russians had been getting pushed back further and further into their own territory, but in response to the French call for help, they began a huge offensive, and did really well until they ran out of supplies and got stuck. Seeing how well the Russians had been doing, Romania decided now would be a great time to jump in and win the war. And then they got pounded. The Greeks were fighting amongst themselves about whether to join the war or not. The king liked the Central Powers, while the Prime Minister wanted to join the Allies. After a brief national schism, during which the country split into two, the king finally abdicated and the country reunited. With Allied help, they began a new offensive. In the Middle East, Russia was pushing into Ottoman territory from the north. The British had also made a landing in Mesopotamia to protect Persia's oil fields, and they had also sent a small army up the Tigris River to try to take Baghdad, but the army got sieged in the town of Kut along the way, and eventually surrendered. A new offensive was launched from the south with all-out desert warfare. The offensive was aided by one famous British officer, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, who helped lead the Arab tribes in a revolt that...
Yeah, we watched a movie about that event, and it's I think you know this movie because it's a very famous one.
It's called Lawrence of Arabia, right?
And it's called Lawrence of Arabia, yeah. But we want to recommend it to you wholeheartedly because it's a very
It's a great movie. Yeah, I don't like historical movies that much. I like costume movies, but what I'm trying to say is even if you're not into history that much, it was still a very good movie.
Yeah.
Aided by one famous British officer, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, who helped lead the Arab tribes in a revolt that wreaked havoc on the Ottoman supply lines. By the time 1917 rolled around, everyone was exhausted. There were mutinies in the French army, the German populace was starving, and the war had drained all of Russia's supplies. There was no clear winner, and it was still anyone's war. The only question now was, who was going to break first? And the answer was Russia. Tired of not eating and mad that a crazy magic homeless guy was calling some of the shots, there was an uprising in Petrograd complete with riots and strikes. The riots turned into a full-scale revolution and a new government overthrew the Tsar. Then a few months later, the Bolsheviks overthrew the new government, and they pulled Russia out of the war. This was great news for Germany, who now only had to focus on the Western Front. But there was still one problem. The pesky United States of America was looking increasingly like it was going to join the war. America had been selling supplies to the Allies throughout the war and was getting super rich off the back of it, meaning it was in fantastic shape and was dangerous to the Germans. So Germany sent a telegram to Mexico saying, wouldn't it be crazy cool if you guys attacked America? But the British intercepted the message, showed it to the Americans, and that was the final straw. American troops began shipping out to Europe.
I wonder how they prove the authenticity of this message. You know,
do you mean they intercepted a physical letter or telegram?
I don't know.
I don't know.
No, telegram no, because I don't know if you can send a telegram. How do I say that? On the ocean, you know, over the ocean, because you need the lines for the telegraph.
True.
You need electric lines so they can send a signal.
True. I'm thinking.
So it has to be some kind of message.
Something that's like
that was said to a person, either personally or it was on a piece of paper, or I don't know, maybe some kind of a recorded message, like a voice.
They already had phones, basic phones at that time.
Yeah, I mean they could record it on a. How is this device called that you put needle on a disc?
Gramophone. Like,
yeah, gramophone.
Well, not on gramophone. Yeah, like.
But you could record a message on this sort of gramophone discs back then. I think so, but maybe.
I'm really wondering if they didn't do like transatlantic telegrams in some way.
You think?
I don't know, but I'm thinking rich people would have. Had some way.
But during Second World War, it was possible to call each other.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, but it wasn't so easy. But you could telephone
was there, yeah.
United States, for example, from Europe.
I don't know, but I'm interested to find out.
I'm kind of ignorant when it comes to. Technology. I'm not sure.
No, you're not. You're not. It's just you just don't know about the specific period and what was available. We know
because
when it became available.
Today's technology is, I understand it more, but the questions like how is the electricity made are always.
Yeah, I can explain it to you, but I will not understand it as I explain it to you. That's the thing.
The same for me.
No, I mean I guess we Yeah, it's complex.
All right, let's go on because they will
Sorry.
yell at us that we are pausing too much.
We can do.
Sorry.
This was terrible news for Germany, and they knew their only hope now was to force France and the UK to surrender before the fresh American troops arrived. It was now or never, so they started one final attack. They converged their troops and hit hard at the Somme and pushed the Allies back. They hit a second time further north, then again and again. With each hit, the Germans were spending more and more resources, while the Allies were getting better and better at repelling their attacks. By the fifth punch, the Allies held the line and even pushed back. With American troops now arriving in larger numbers, the Allies launched a counterattack, and that was it. The Central Powers were being pushed back on all fronts. Bulgaria collapsed first, followed by the Ottoman Empire, then Austria-Hungary, and finally on November 11th, 1918, at 11 o'clock, Germany surrendered. At the peace treaty, Germany was forced to reduce its military, accept war guilt, and pay the bill for the war. After indescribable suffering and millions dead, the world learnt its lesson and never had such an awful war again.
They had the worst one.
For about 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this also when I think about living in that time, you know, imagine that you are living at the beginning of the 20th century and you are born, I mean, around the end of the 19th. So you can be conscripted, or
You can fight in both wars, basically.
Yeah, you don't even have to be conscripted to see the horrors of the war, but to see or to experience 2 world wars.
And then you have 20 years or so, and the world starts getting better and better, and you get a good job, and maybe you buy a house, and you know all these poets start emerging, and you've got theater and music, and then no.
Yeah, the second world happens, and after that you are old, and when the world is finally starting to get better, then you are old and you die. So
Provided you haven't died in either of the
Yeah.
wars. Okay.
great time to be alive. I mean, seriously. Okay, so that was the First World War, and yeah, like we said at the beginning of the first video, I think the guy who does these videos, he tended to oversimplify it more back then because, yeah, he put all the war inside one video that is 7 minutes and the other is 6 minutes something, so that's impressive. But to get
We got all the basics though.
yeah, to get the grip of that, you know, then yeah, it's good, you know. And if you want to expand your knowledge somehow, then you can do that by your own. Like for example, we will definitely check out how it was with the telegraph and with the telephone at that time. And yeah, if we do that before, we will do that, and we will put it in the description. So
Okay, so you can check it out too.
yeah, then we can put our videos as not only entertainment, but it will be an educational videos.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say still that I really like this channel. You showed it to me. It's really great with all the graphics. Everything is so well explained, and it really sinks in. And he has good balance between like more fun facts and humor, and then really explaining everything.
Yeah, there wasn't that much humor back then. I think it's later that he starts to getting a bit more humoristic.
Okay.
Because he has more time for that, and here he really tried to. I mean, he cracks a couple of jokes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he had the tendency to do it more and more.
Yeah.
Later, because in the Second World War, maybe you mean that mainly because in the Second World War there
were more jokes and animations. Yeah, that's true.
But also the video was
Much
longer.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to us so we can very soon thank you for 200 subscribers.
That would be something.
That would be something. It's already something. And please leave us a like if you would like. Haha. And then you can also ring the notification bell, and you can leave a comment. You can do whatever you like.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
See you guys
See you in
soon.
the next video.